This is a talk through of literacy assignment chords. There's a video that you need to watch first of all before you attempt this assignment. We're not introducing anything new. It's still just revising what you've done in National 5 for the makeup of chords and how they are put together for different keys. So there's some information in the higher literacy booklet that I've pasted down here. And then there's some exercises for you to do. So this is the section I'd like you to read through. And again, it's just revision, telling you a little bit of a reminder about how the chords are made up, with note 1, 3 and 5, and 1 being the root note. So in this example here, chord 1 is based on the first note of the scale. The bottom note is called the root note, and the other two are the third and the fifth, because they're on the third note and the fifth note above the root. So for this one here, it's C major, C is on the bottom, the next note is E, which is a third above C, and the next note is G, a fifth above C. So it's one note, miss a note, next note, miss a note, next note, and that gives you the triad of the chord of C. For chord 4, based on the fourth note of the scale, so the chord is made up the same way as chord 1, with the third and the fifth being added above the root note, but this time the root note is note number 4, which in the key of C would be an F. There's a little bit more information in there that you can have a read of, but basically this is where the tasks start. So it's asking you here to complete the example for the key of C major. So the first one is the first chord, and the name is C, and what you're being asked to do is identify the notes. So for this one, you can see we've just discussed it, it's C, E and G. So what you would do is you would write a C in there, an E in there and a G in there. Now that's dead easy if we've got the note, the booklet in front of us and we handwrite it. But unfortunately we can't do that. If you have a printer and you want to print this off and handwrite it, that's fine. But if you don't, I don't have a printer at home, so I wouldn't be able to do that. What I would suggest you do is go to Noteflight and do it in there. Okay, so if I open up Noteflight and I've created a blank Noteflight, we're just going to ignore the bass clef line because we're going to do this in treble clef. So if I just go back to the one note and show you, so we're doing a chord of C, and then I want to write the letter names for it. So the first thing I want to do is put the notation in. So back to Noteflight, and I want to put a semi-breve C, change it to a semi-breve, and then if I want to put an E and a G above it, I just press the shift key and then press E and then press G. So that gives me that triad. Once I've done that, I'd like to put in some text. So I'm going to go for system text. I'm going to click on that note and go for system text. And it gives me a little text box. And I'm just going to put C, E, G. It doesn't have to be one above the other under the circumstances. You can move that to wherever you like and write it underneath. Now if we go back to the task, it's identifying it as chord number 1 with a C, so you could also put some more text in there just to make that exactly like it looks in. So it's chord 1, we're using Roman numerals, so it's an I, and then we could put C. And that just makes it really clear that it matches up with what's in the exercise. So the next one is a chord of F, and it's chord number 4, and we're going to identify the notes in that one. So if I go back to Noteflight and put in the notes, back to a semi-breve, so it's an F. The next note is an A, so Shift A, and it's going to put it down there, so I need to up arrow to bring it up to the right octave, and then a C above that. Just Shift C to add that in. What you can then do is you can either you can highlight, copy and paste text, or go back, put in your system text, FAC, chord 4, F. That kind of covers this first exercise for 1A, B, and C and D. The only other thing you need to remember is to look at the key signature. So you can see for this one, it says, complete the example below for the key of F major. Remember that this key uses B, and that's supposed to be a flat sign, but it's just lost its way a little bit because of the copying into notebook. So it's F major, so what you're going to need to do is make sure you enter the key signature when you do your entry in Noteflight. And if you're handwriting it, make sure you put the key signature in here for F major. And you know that that is 1 flat. So if we go back to Noteflight, I'm going to leave these 2 bars because that would be the end of exercise 1A. And then I'm going to put in some more bars, 4 more bars. Now what you can do in Noteflight is you can go to a bar line and press enter, and it'll take it onto a new line. So that separates it quite nicely. I want to change the key signature. If I select those 4 bars and put the key signature as F major, it then gives me 4 bars of F major. Okay, so back to the exercise. Chord number 1 in the key of F major is going to be an F chord because F is the first note of the scale in F major. So in here, I want to start on an F and then put in the A and the C above it. So then I can put in some system text again and just put FAC, chord 1 is an F chord. And what I might want to do here as well, it might make sense to put a bit of a heading just above it. Going back to the exercise again, the next one I need to do is chord 4. So again, if we count up from F, it's F is 1, G is 2, A is 3, and then B would be 4. But remember, it's a B flat, so this is a chord of B flat for chord 4. So we go in here, and you can either do the B flat below the stave or the B flat on the stave. It really doesn't matter as long as it's the right notes. You don't even need to change them to semi-breves. You can do them as crotchets. It doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you know what the right notes are, and make sure that it's in order. Oh, and that should be an F. So remember, when you look at the chord, it should look nice and neat like that. If it's on a line, the next note of the chord is on a line, and the next note of a chord is on a line. If it's in a space, it's space, space, space. So it should look nice and neat and tidy. So you're going to do that for 1A, B, C, and D. And then the next part is to write the triads in the space provided on the stave, and make sure you check the key signature and try not to look at the triads you've completed on the previous page. Okay, I don't mind you having a look at it, but it'd be good if you try and do this just by looking at what's given here. So this example here, so if we look at the first one, you look at the key signature first, so you know that 1 sharp is G major, and this Roman numeral is number 5. And then looking at the notes, it's a D, and then we've got an F, and we know that it's an F sharp, and an A. So that is chord 5 in the key of G, which is a D chord. So it's G number 1, A number 2, B number 3, C number 4, and D number 5. So that's all correct. For this one here, there's no sharps and flats in the key signature, and you're being told it's A minor, chord number 1. So that would be A, C, and E. So for this first one here, you can see that the key signature is F major because it's got 1 flat, and it's asking you to draw the chord number 4. So in F major, chord number 4, we count up from F as 1, G is 2, A is 3, and B flat is 4. So it's asking you to draw the chord of B flat major. So that would be a B flat, a D, and an F. This example here is asking for chord 5 in C major. So chord 5 in C major would be a G chord because you're going C, D, E, F, G. That's 5 notes up from C. So it's a G major chord. So you would draw a G, then the note above in the chord, which would be a B, and then the note above, which is a D. You'll see that the only ones it tells you are the ones C major or A minor because they don't have sharps or flats in the key signature. The rest of them, you work out the key signature yourself. But all you're going between is C major, A minor, G major, and F major. So it's just the same keys that you used for National 5. Take note that some of them are in bass clef. So the first 2 lines are in treble clef, the second 2 lines are in bass clef. Okay, so again, you'll need to copy these in to Noteflight, put in a change of key every time you need to in order to get the right thing. So it's going to be a bit of a faff putting it into Noteflight, but it's worth the effort because then you really get used to using Noteflight. The task here, number 3, is just to identify the triads. So it's the opposite to number 2. So for number 2, you had to draw them. For number 3, you've got to say what chord number it is for the key. So this one here is in the key of F major, and it's a B flat, a D, and an F, so you need to work out what chord number it is. So you can work out that that's chord number 4. This one it's telling you is in C major. The notes, you work out the notes, C, E, and G. You know that that's chord number 1. So if we were to look at this next one, it's in the key of G major. It starts on an E, then a G, then a B. So it's a chord of E minor. So in G, we need to work out what chord that is. So you would count from G, G, A, B, C, D, E is chord 6. So you would put a V, then a 1 after that. Now remember, the minor chord is always the 6th chord. You'll remember that from National 5. Okay, so for these ones, you might not necessarily need to put it into Noteflight, because what you could do here is you could just write your answers on here in the class notebook. If you go to the draw button on class notebook, you can actually click and you can insert text. So I think if you just double click, yeah. So if you double click there, you can do a V and an I. So that would actually put your answer in. So for those ones, you can just click and type. And then when you hand in on the assignment, it'll be there for me to see it. Hopefully that makes everything quite clear. If anyone's got any questions, post in the questions channel on Teams or send me an email.